Hello everyone, my name is Kuram Baki. I'm a student expert, an Autodesk certified instructor, and an Autodesk expert elite. Now today I'm going to introduce you to a workflow called ReFusion IT, Fusion 360 plus Revit. Now as an architect, our designs are a quick flush of ideas. Now, Revit is great, it's awesome, it has huge capabilities, but let's face it, when it comes to fluid, smooth, and fully organic forms, it would be pretty hard to control the form that simply comes out of my mind. It would need a lot of pre-planning, a lot of pre-thinking, and a lot of referencing. Now here is the solution. It's Fusion. Now, Fusion 360 is the newest Autodesk tool that is specifically designed for mechanical engineering. But I found that Fusion 360 has an environment called sculpting environment, which will simply allow me to create any kind of organic fluid or smooth forms easily and to manipulate it within no time. Now, the challenge was getting this Fusion's mass into project inside Revit. Now, I have to use Dynamo as a linker between Fusion and Revit, which I'm gonna demonstrate inside this video, and I've also created a couple of nodes for Dynamo to make this process easy and automated. And you are gonna see how flexible Fusion is and how it's pretty smooth, pretty easy to use Fusion, and simply to make it updatable in Revit was the main challenge, and hopefully it's solved. Now, let's get started.
Now the workflow is pretty straightforward. It has three parts: Fusion's part, Dynamo's part, and Revit's part. This chart can be seen in the description of this video. It's using Praxis workflow technology by Autodesk, which is still on testing. You can check it out. Now, the starting point would be from the design process, which is happening inside Fusion. Now Fusion can get me an updatable SAT file, in other words, re-exportable SAT file. Now the SAT file gets into Dynamo, which I have placed a little note in here. I'm saying to you, if you re-exported the updated SAT file, you will have to reconnect the file path node in Dynamo, which is I'm going to demonstrate in the video how to do that. Now the Dynamo gets that SAT file into a ReFusion import node, which fixes that SAT file and especially fixing the orientation of the file. Now, after getting me a fixed geometry, I will have to decide either leaving that geometry as is or using Dynamo to modify its surface, either dividing it using Verneuil or any other tool. Now I get into an export node, then that export node gets me a SAT or a fixed SAT file which has the label link me to Revit. For example, if my SAT file was named Kuram, then the fixed SAT file would be Kuram link me to Revit. Now we're gonna see all this in the video now. And the last part would be to get this into Revit, which is linking it into a Revit project. Now, and I'm saying to you, if you updated that Dynamo fixed file, you will have to reload it from the Manage Links dialog in Revit, which we are gonna see here. And then I would have to decide whether continuing the design process in Revit or modifying the main mass, which will get me back in the first place in the design process, which is pretty easy. And don't worry, it's not long. I had to make it a little bit long in here in order to make you understand it very smoothly. Now we're gonna get into the first part, which is Fusion's part. Here's Fusion main interface. Now I'm not gonna get into the details of how to install Fusion or install Dynamo, neither how to install Revit. They're all available on the web. I'm just gonna explain the workflow, which is connecting those into one piece. Now, for those who does not know or has not even dealt with Fusion before, I'm going to demonstrate how flexible it is. I've created a quick box which is mirrored and symmetrical from every and each part. Let me remove the symmetrical abilities. Now I'm gonna modify any part I want. I can even rotate it, I can even move it up, down, scale it. I can simply do anything I would like to do inside a Fusion model or Fusion project. The possibilities are unlimited and the abilities are huge. Now I'm gonna continue to modify this into just making it a little bit buildable. Now I'm gonna create a sweep, let us say. Now a sweep is a very known form in all the programs, but in Fusion it's pretty more great than other programs. Now just a quick splines, which I've made a quick profile in here, and I'm gonna create a quick sweep on this path. Yep, and also this is modifiable in the way I would like it to be modified. It's pretty easy to use, pretty straightforward. It does not need a lot of proficiency. Now filling the holes is also a great feature, just like that. Yep. Now another great feature would be the bridge connection, which is I'm gonna make a connection from this into this, let us say. Yep. Oh, sorry, what was that? I don't want it to be closed. Yep. Now I'm gonna create a bridge in between this and on that curve. Now check out this great ability. We just connected everything together, and also this is customizable the way you would like it to be customized. That it's all smooth, it's all great, it's all quick flush of ideas that can come inside your head. Now I would do a last move, which is finishing the form and then creating a quick void, which is gonna be in this place. I'm gonna cut out this part and finish it up. Now this form has not taken from me 1 or 1.5 minutes. Now how to get this form into Revit and continuing the design process in Revit was the main challenge. The final thing I would like to show you in Fusion before getting it into the next part is that I can get back into time and edit the form the way I would need to, or even more manipulate and make it more advanced, make it more like smoothly fluid and whatsoever. Now this is a very quick form. I know it's an ugly one, however it's just for the demonstration, and okay, finishing it, it also recutting itself and fixing itself again. Now I can of course save the project to open it again as a Fusion project, but now let's get into the next part, which is getting it into Dynamo. Now, I'm gonna go to File, Export, and I'm gonna create a new folder called Test ReFusion. Now this is my project, let us call it project test.sat, or just let it test.sat. okay. Now I'm gonna go to the Explorer. I can see a test.sat file. Now I'm done with Fusion, and if I needed to even more manipulate the form, I can simply re-exporting it as many times as I want, but now let's get it to the next part. Now the next part would be using Dynamo. Now if I have opened that chart, I can see that I have that SAT file from the X part, which is Fusion's part. In Dynamo's part, I will get this SAT file into Dynamo, then I will use ReFusion IT import node, which then I will get the fixed geometry, and then I will decide what to do, then getting it into an export node, which will give me an fixed SAT. Now, how to do that? First thing you have to do is to download those nodes from the description of the video. Now, in Dynamo, you will have to open a new project. Now, those are the custom nodes. You can open them and investigate them. They are pretty simple and straightforward. I just have that file path, then it will get the geometry and fix the orientation, and it will give me the geometry fixed up, and the export one will just get that geometry and get that file, same path, then replace the strings to get it this label. Now you don't have to have knowledge in Dynamo to use this workflow. There it's already automated. Now in this place I'm gonna start by file path, which will tell Fusion that this is my file test.sat, which I've saved inside test ReFusion, and then I'm gonna use those nodes ReFusion IT export and ReFusion IT import. Now I'm gonna connect those nodes all together. As the chart says here, the first step would be connecting it to ReFusion IT import node, which is connecting it in here, and it will give me the geometry. Now it says here, ReFusion SAT file path. It's the same file, it's just for the exporting purposes. Now I would have to decide here, either leaving the geometry as is or using Dynamo to divide the surface using Vernoy and other tools. That would be simply using this node if I need to modify any more further, but for now I'm gonna decide to leave it as is. So I'm just gonna reconnect or just directly connect this geometry into the re-export or ReFusion IT export node. So I have decided to just simply take this path, Dynamo, ReFusion IT import, got me the fixed geometry, and I decided to leave it as is, and I have just connected it to the ReFusion IT export node, which is supposed to get me this fixed SAT file. If I have got into Windows Explorer and just gone into here, I would get this file which has the label link me to Revit. This file was automatically generated by Dynamo because I have this set to automatic. If you have it to manual, then you will have to make run. So in that chart I have that fixed SAT file. Now the part of Dynamo is finished. If I have decided that I would need any more modifications, let us do a quick one, which is getting back into Fusion, and let me make a noticeable modification. I'm gonna edit it, and I'm gonna just, let's say, delete all this, and I'm gonna fill up that hole and finish up the form. Now in that chart I'm saying that if you re-exported an updated SAT file, which is I'm gonna do now, I have re-export the same SAT file with the same test.sat. Yes, replace it. You have to reconnect the file path node in Dynamo. Then I would have to go to Dynamo and just simply reconnect this, just double clicking it, and it will get me the updated form. Now this part is finished. I will make a quick summary before we go to the last part. We have started with Fusion project, and then we have exported a SAT file, we went into Dynamo, we made a file path node, a ReFusion IT import node, a ReFusion IT export node. Then I have told Fusion that this is my project. It's connected, and then I connected it to the Fusion SAT file path, Fusion SAT file path, and I have decided to leave the geometry as is. Then, so I connected this geometry with the export, so the geometry as is gets exported into that file, which is called the same name as that file but has the label link me to Revit, as this chart says in here. Now the next part would be in Revit. Now, after finishing up with Dynamo's part, I got that fixed SAT file, which is in here. Test link me to Revit. Now, the last part of the workflow, it's gonna be linking that fixed SAT file into Revit and seeing the abilities I can do inside a Revit form. Now, going into Revit architectural template, I'm gonna go to massing and site, in place mass. Now please notice that you will have to do that inside an in place mass. It's not directly linking it. It cannot be useful if it's directly linked. Inside the massing and site, in place mass. Okay, now inside in place mass, I'm gonna link that CAD. Make sure you have SAT, not DWG, it's SAT files. Link me to Revit, open. Now this file gets linked into Revit. Now what are the abilities that can be done when using this file? I can simply wall by face, I can simply do a curtain system, and the most amazing thing is using mass floors. Now before I use mass floors, let me just override this by element and give it a transparency surface a little bit. Now let me see, in the elevation I have level 1, 2, let me add level 3 at 4,000, sorry. Now mass floors 1 to 3, I have those 3 mass floors in their correct shape. I can now simply mass floor, and I can simply wall by face everything, I can simply curtain system everything up, and the most amazing feature is that I can edit in place, tab into any face dividing its surface, tab into any edge dividing its path, and the nodes works out as expected to be. The faces, the divided surface will work out as it's expected to be, using any shape I would like to. However, the only thing you will have to consider is that you will have to hide the mass when you're done. Let's make a quick example for, let us say, octagon rotate. Finish the mass before you go out. Now let's make this quick test. I'm gonna go to new, family, curtain panel, pattern based. Let us change it into octagon rotate. Now let me create something very quick, something like this. It's just straightforward sweep. And let's load it back. Then edit in place. I'm gonna click on this and then change it to family 2. This is all Revit techniques. It has nothing to do with the workflow. Now I have this surface on this. I will finish the mass. I still have the mass. Now the workflow simply works when you are finished from the mass. You just simply hide it. It is already in the VG. Hide the mass. You will have everything the built on, including surfaces, paths, walls, or anything else. I have not built anything but the floors and that surface. Now, that's not the most amazing thing. The most amazing thing when it comes to updating this mass, you're gonna be amazed how Revit behaves in this case. Now, in the chart, I'll have to decide after linking that form into Revit whether to continue the design process or whether to modify the main mass. Let me decide that I will need to modify and I don't need to continue the design process now. Then I will get back to Fusion. I will open my Fusion. Now I will edit this form. Let's make a quick edit in that place which I had that form or that surface created. Let's make it something like that. And okay, finish the form. Now in the chart again, I told you that if you have a re-exported set, which is going to be now re-exported, you will have to reconnect the Dynamo, which is going to happen again. Now I'm going to go to Fusion. It's offline. Export. Sat. Same test.sat. Okay. Now in Dynamo, as the chart says, you will have to reconnect the tile path node. Reconnected it. It gave me that form updated. Now in the chart I say, if you updated the Dynamo, which I've did right now, I will have to reload the linked file from Manage Links dialog in Revit. In Revit, manage links, CAD, and reloading this will get me an updated mass, an updated data, and the most amazing thing, it updates the form inside Revit. As you can see, it was like that. It came into that. As you can see, the file simply gets updated. That's a Control-Z and a Control-Y to let you see the changes. Now that's the workflow I'm talking about. Now imagine using this ability to create any organic form. There are unlimited possibilities, especially in the fluid forms, to use. And as long as Revit can create floors, can create walls, and can do curtain systems, the possibilities are simply unlimited. As for the final output, please share this workflow with your friends, with your colleagues. It can create an evolutionary designing process and opening the possibilities for many other solutions, especially for fluid forms and organic forms in Revit using Fusion's 360 powers. Thank you very much and hope you enjoyed this workflow. If you have any questions, you can place me a question in the comments and I will be happy to answer your question. Thank you very much and see you in later videos. And soon I will be creating some tricks and tips inside Fusion to make such openings and make split face and other stuff like that to be used in the architectural discipline in Revit. Thank you so much and see you later.